Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Empowering Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Glenn Harper.
Julie Smith.
What's going on, Julie?
It's still summer, but we're getting ready for that back to school season.
Well, all I know is I have a real coffee the whole way there out of decaf today, so I don't know
We
what's going
should
to
have hooked up
happen.
a fan so
I
you
know
don't sweat through
it's
the
going
whole
to get hot in
podcast.
here, and that's okay. Well, we've got an interesting guest today. I'd like to introduce Neil Rogers, owner and VP of Sales and Marketing at Rogers Marketing, the promotional marketing firm in New England, not to be confused with England proper, where the motto is get, keep, and grow. His niche is to identify company products that fit the brand of his customer to reach his client's ideal customer. If you do not want to grow, do not hire him. If you want to grow your company to that which you dream about, perhaps a consultation would be in your best interest. He is also co-founder of Positive Activity, which is a great program that helps one achieve their goals with the one step at a time plan, which we all know, but somehow find it impossible to execute. He is a best-selling author of Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned from Behind the Bar. Apparently, good communication skills, including listening to customer wants and needs, you can actually learn how to serve them. His path to success has been an interesting one to say the least, but as we all know, the weave of life is what makes it satisfying. Even though he hails from Melrose, Massachusetts, not to be confused with the real Melrose place in California, he thrives in the New England area, bringing his energy and passion to give all that want his marketing services, books, and a great keynote speaker. Thanks, Neil, for being on our show.
Happy to be here, guys.
Excellent. Well, I tell you what, we like to get a little back on our clients, get to know them a little bit, I guess, because it's important to kind of figure out where you came from and how it all happened. And it says you grew up in Melrose, Massachusetts, a mere mile from Reverie Beach, America's first public beach, where you attended Melrose High School.
All right. First of all, we're gonna give you a little Boston here. It's
Oh,
Revere.
geez.
It's Revere, dude.
Revere. All right.
Revere, dude. Okay.
Yeah. All
So
right.
yes. So yes, we did do a little Revere Beach at now and again. Although my accent is kind of tapered a little bit because I live in New Hampshire, but Massachusetts is right there.
Yeah, you're technically in Massachusetts, but you're really in New Hampshire, which is funny. It's right on
Five
the
percent.
border.
I'm 5% richer for it too, baby.
There you go. That's right. I was wondering why you left. Was it the taxes? I was wondering what the motivation was there. So you grew up in the area in Melrose. So what was that like? Would you have
Well,
siblings?
it was just it was a family town. It was a wonderful town to grow up in. I was seventh of eight of a negative Irish Catholic family, so that was always interesting. And so how I got into what I'm doing, I believe I'm the only guy. I believe that we had teachers, we had plumbers, and whatnot. But as far as the people business, I'm the only one that was ever in. No, my sister did a stint at a place called not Bailey's, so she waited tables there. But other than that, I think I'm the only one that's ever done, hospitality business. And then I've been in sales for 40 years. So it was I overcoming coming some of those negative influence. And by the
Yeah.
way, no axe to ground. My family, I love my family, I love my parents, and all that. The environment, and we've all discussed this together. It's not like it's where I'm telling any stories out of school. And my parents are great, but it was just a different way back then. So it was, let's just say criticism came quick, where, compliments came long. And let's just say the Socratic method was not practiced in the household.
No,
So it
sounds
was,
normal. Yeah.
it's an interesting, it was like it's kind of okay, here's the highway and here's my way. So you make the choice.
Well, you're not technically the black sheep, but you certainly did it a different way than everybody else. Is that something you knew from an early age, or is that something it just kind of fell into?
Well, first of all, Neil was never going to be an engineer or a doctor or anything of that nature. So I was always a little bit glib, can sing a little bit, can play a little bit. I dance, those types of things. And so I used what I had, my tools. So I really had people intelligence, and as I think that's the proper term that Howard Gardner called it, but it was interpersonal skills and interpersonal intelligence. So he called them intelligence. He defined the 9 different types of intelligence in this book called The Frame of Mind. And I wish I knew that back then. My self-esteem would have been a lot better at the age of 18, 19 years old. So,
Isn't it funny how society puts pressure on what you do or don't do, and you feel it, you don't even know why, because you're just trying to be you? It's weird, isn't it?
yeah, well, again, I went up to my so again, the way things went back then. I mean, I played I played 3 sports for 12 years. I think my parents came to 4 games. It's all changed. Again, no axe to grind. They never went to my brother's games or sister's games or anything, but it just was what it was. So it was just a different time. So the support that you would get today, where we've got our kids mapped out from DNA right up until, and they're still, I was just brought to tears when my 31-year-old son left the other day. And it's like, my parents is back in the kid, move on,
Please get out. Yes.
not leaving in my house. I mean, he does live alone, but he
Right.
stays at our place in Plymouth, Massachusetts for the summer, most of the summer. So, but I literally went to my mother in May of my senior year and said, is there something I should be doing next year? Literally. I mean, it was just like that, and waiting for us to make the decisions. And you should maybe you should go to school. All right, let's try school. So it took a couple of swings and misses at that, but all the while I stayed in the hospitality business, and really have no answer for flunking out of 2 community colleges, but it just happened. But then I decided when I got into the hospitality, well, when I started bartending, I always washed dishes, bus tables, cooked all that stuff. Then I started getting in front of the house, and I started bartending, and that's where I really decided that my life's work will be taking care of people, making them happy, serving them. And that's really where it all came from. And oh, by the way, when I poured that first drink and someone looked, after, of course, I asked her some questions. What would you like? Well, I like, oh, would you like, how about a sea breeze? That sounds interesting. What's in that? Well, that's vodka, grapefruit with a splash of cranberry juice and a lime. Let me try that. Poured the drink. She took a sip out of it, and I got well, that's lovely. I was, for a moment there, I said, maybe I have something here, right? But I knew it wasn't, I knew I didn't want it to be my life's work because, the thought of, and by the way, I have all the respect in the world for hospitality people. Working Friday and Saturday nights in order to make a living was not really what I was
Terrible.
looking forward to. So it was like, so that's when people would suggest, hey, Neil, with your personality, the way you work with people, have you thought about sales? I said, sure, but I still got to get that elusive degree. But what I did was I developed a process, much like you'll hear. I mean, happy to send you a copy of my book, by the way. The
Thanks.
you'll read in the book, and all that. It's just everything is about process. And the process I had for school was, I don't know if you guys know this, but they like you to show up.
Apparently, that's important. Yeah.
They like you to listen, actively listen, take notes, ask a question or two, answer a question or two, do an extra credit deal, show up at the office hours. Kind of sounds like sales, doesn't it?
Very simple.
Yeah. So I'd like to make it harder, but it really isn't. I mean, I think, certain things, obviously different paths when you're working with different clients or whatnot, you're going to have to adjust. And it didn't work exactly the same way this time. What do we do now? And I'm right in the middle of one of those right now. Absolutely right now in the
It's
development.
funny. It's funny when you're a bartender, you are literally the gatekeeper of the people coming into that bar if they're going to have a good time or not. You literally can set the tone by the service, a good drink, good conversation that sets the tone. When you walk in and you feel like the bartender is going to take care of you, engaging, give you a good drink, give them you a special, and every time you give them the look, they come and help take you out. It changes as a patron your entire vibe of going into a bar. You can be the hero for your group of getting them, helping them getting drinks. It's just the craziest thing. I mean, I'm sure you know
Hey,
that.
look who just walked in.
Yeah.
Glenn and Julie are here tonight. What's going on, guys? What do you
And
have, Julie? You gonna have that vodka soda splash of cran like you always do? How about
we're
you, Glenn? You're
dropping
gonna have
20s. Yep. Indeed.
that IPA. You always want the new IPA. Let me tell you about a new one. The local guy brought it in the other day. It's marble, a little hoppy, but I know how you like the hop. Right?
Maybe you were the norm guy before. Maybe you set the tone for Cheers before. Maybe you're that guy.
I mean,
Well,
it's just like,
I have a question though, is you
sure.
you you talk about, reflecting and like that key moment of like, oh, this is my strength and oh, this is the path I need to take. As you reflect and kind of look back at your childhood, do you see where like maybe you had tendencies to go that route instead of, the other routes that you could have gone? as you, I don't know, it's just interesting if that was always there. It just didn't hit you with a two by four until then.
Well, there was always a little layer of entertainment in my background. Not to I started playing the piano as a kid. But yet I've really started to play it the last 3 years,
Hmm.
and that's like 53 years later. And it's like it's a whole new game. But yeah, so I had a little bit of that, a little bit of, like I said, a little joke telling, little, always telling, the jokes around the table, whatnot. And then also, at a party, I can dance. So that's always a popular thing to, for, to at least show, demonstrate. So yeah, so that part of it, the entertain, being a performer. I mean, right now, my favorite thing to do, the only thing I'm frustrated now with my music right now is I've got nowhere to perform until November.
Oh, geez.
I gotta find some way to do it, or I'll have people over and I'll play and sing for them. Or actually, I had the window open the other day in my place in Plymouth. The guy says, "Does your son play the piano?" I said, "No, that was me." Oh, okay. Now, believe me, he probably didn't have the most discerning ear in the world. So I'm not going overboard with my talent. I mean, to
It was
answer your
echoes.
question, Julie, yes, I think that part of it was always there. And then I think God's honest truth, I think I wasn't in desperate straits, but self-esteem was really low. I mean, when you flunk out of a community college,
It's low. Yeah.
it's not a fun feeling. And the interesting thing was, it wasn't, at the first semester I did fine. Fine. It was B student, right? I just lost all interest. I had no, I had no
Passion.
passion. I had no, where am I going with this? Why am I now taking history again? Didn't I just take this crap? So I'm thinking that's what it was, but I don't really have a solid answer for it. I think that's what it was. And then, of course, I probably liked a good time a little too much, right? So I was, let's just say, otherwise
Preoccupied.
persuaded elsewhere at times. So, but yeah, I think that's it. But I do, but it's a great question. I don't know, other than the fact that I just liked people and I liked to have a good time. And then but I also wanted to be successful. I started seeing people. So I started to mature. I mean, it's one of the things. I graduated high school at 17 years old, and I wouldn't, I was very, very difficult with coaches, and let's just say I wasn't coachable. I become very coachable. And oh, by the way, as soon as, especially in school, once I figured it out, but
Yep.
even once I got that place where I went, okay, I'm going to do this. At least going to stop pouring drinks. I was pretty good at it. I mean, it was very fast, I had quick hands, all that stuff. So, and then I would have on certain nights in this one place, Tia's in Boston, I'd have a little gallery because we were moving so darn fast because you had 13 cocktail waitresses and food waitresses. You had people on the right, people on the left, shouting, 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 and the mic roast is pouring. So it was kill or be killed. So
I'm going to go on a limb here, and I think I'm right on this. But would you say that you are probably? I'm going to use one word. I'm going to use another word. You're probably. I think you're a facilitator, but more like a catalyst. When we drop Neil in somewhere, things are going to happen, and whatever
I,
those things are, you're going to get the thing happening. Whether it's the party going, the engagement going, the business is happening, the sales is happening. You are the catalyst. When they drop you in, things happen.
I think that's a good assessment. I mean, we always, our family, we call it the Make It Happen team
Hmm.
because we also have a son with autism. I have a 34-year-old boy with autism. Well, as it relates to the book, right? So the book, a buddy of mine who flies back and forth from California, he came when he we came, always comes and visits us here, and he said, "I read your book. I love the book. Is that how you did the other stuff?" I said, "Yeah, same stuff, same process." So it's all it's it you'd asked about the little things in your notes, and yeah, it's all about the little things. So paying attention to details, fine details, random acts of kindness, bring success and happiness. And so yeah,
So that's the question. We always like to, we get to this point and then we can go the other way. But the point is like at some point you're working for the man, doing your thing, you're being the catalyst, you're doing something for somebody else, and all of a sudden you're like, I got to do something for myself. What what was that definitive thing that
Well,
happened?
I think we could probably define it by talking to him for the last 15 minutes is he wanted to do it his way. He wanted to do his process. And again, I'm just guessing over here, but that's my guess,
Spitballing,
you know,
spitballing, yeah. Hmm.
is that you
So
decided you didn't want those rules or to be put into a box. You wanted to create your own.
you're absolutely right. I don't know as it was a complete conscious decision. It's just that I worked for my first successful sales job was when I was with a food distributor. And so got back in the food business, right? So I'm selling to restaurants and hospitals and whatnot. And I took I think it was they used to measure it by weeks for some reason, but $3,000 a week territory, and in 18 months it went to 30,000. So it went from 300 whatever 350,000 to 1,000,008 or something like that, just by doing
What you're
every
supposed to
day
do.
process and bartending on the road, which is something I realized before when my daughter was being honored here on. I live in a golf community here now, and she was up at the clubhouse, and she was honored as one of the 30 to watch under 30. The chamber, they've got an award for everything. So the guy who brought Five Guys Burgers to New Hampshire was there, and he was a great guy. And my speaking is just how you hear it. I remember I practiced my chops at Toastmasters, and I got evaluated one time, and she goes, the speech was unbelievable, but you used the word gonna. I said, oh yeah,
It's a real
guess
word.
what? I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, it's a
So
real word.
it's just the way I go. So this guy was kind of that kind of guy, and you when you see the book, you'll see it's all. I wrote a book I could read, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So he just said, I when you get pre-meal, I don't know if you guys have worked in hospitality, but they get the team together, talk, what's 86, what's the wine of the night, whatever that is, and then there's a little bit of a speech, and the speech, it goes something like, his was, we're not in the burger business, we're not in the fry business, we're not in the soda business, we're not in the shake business, we're in the hospitality business. I looked at my wife, Lori, point of context. I met her. Lori was a food waitress at the place Tia's I was talking about earlier. I said, I've never left the bar business. I've been bartending on the road for 35 plus years at the time. Now it's approaching 40. And but yes, so that food job was the only job I had where I worked for a company. And it just like it wasn't constrained, but it was also that I don't know, going to the office and listening to, having a
Terrible.
it was just like, but I learned, don't get me wrong, I learned a lot. And one of the greatest lessons I learned was there. And but it was given to me by a mentor, Jim Gallahue, right? Jim Gallahue said to me, and he was the tops of the trees guy. So I'm following him like a puppy dog. What can I do for you? I deliver stuff for him. I tended bar at his Christmas parties, all these things. He says, if you forget everything else I've told you, remember this one thing. Whenever anything goes wrong,
Oh
start
man.
here. Start here. How could I have done better? Right? What was my role in this? There's something disarming about that. That when you don't lash out, oh my God, the truck driver, oh the probably the guy in the warehouse picked that wrong. Did the customer service girl mess up again? No. You keep that all inside. Let me take some ownership on this. Let me solve the problem. Right. So, but from there, so now I'm pretty successful here. My
But do
wife,
you think that was the key to your growth? Like that unlocked some of that growth aspect for you personally?
oh sure, it for me, especially as as I relented to learn and to take mentorship and sales management, if you will, and not think everybody else was wrong, right? I think that's been a huge success over part of my success over my life. Especially now we're in the promotional business and we've got vendors and they mess up. They do all the time.
All the
But you
time.
know what? I'm never the one that says you. Now, not 100%. Don't nobody bats 1,000, but they but by saying, 99% of the time, we get a fair shake on anything that happens. Most of the time, they just take care of it. If I think we've got a piece of it, we take our piece. There's something disarming about that. There's something, you're going to get better service and all that. But the next, just to finish up your question, Julie, because I know we get ranty here, but the next gig. So now we're recently married, 1987. Lori's working at Fidelity, making 50 plus a year. I'm now making 50 plus a year. We got a car. 1987, we got 100
Really
grand
good.
coming in, and we've got, get a car and all that. And so my friend of mine who couldn't make my wedding sold. He had a manufacturer's rep firm in the athletic footwear and apparel business. And he comes to my house, gives us our gift. He says, "Hey, you want to come work for us?" And I knew they were successful, and I knew it was independent. I said, "Sure do." So I went there, and we did great stuff together. They're all over my book. Matter of fact, I'm creating a new ring that for positive activity. Their logo's on one side and my logo's on the other. But yeah, and then it was but then the process kicked in.
Hmm.
It showed up. So I think the guy that had the territory before me was negative. Stuff doesn't sell. Nobody wants Etonic shoes. Nobody wants this. Nobody. Instead of like just going to make it happen. So I think in the end, I think it was $250,000 territory that I turned into, based on the commissions I made, because can't remember approaching 10 million.
So,
And
what do you think is the key to your growth mindset? Because you obviously had a huge shift throughout your career to get you to where you are. But what do you think the key to that is for our listeners?
Well, I think that you have to start your day positively. You cannot start, oh my goodness, what are we going to do today? And because the problems are solved. So our ditty with positive activity is it's the practice, because my wife and I are yogis, and we believe that everything's a practice, nothing's a perfect. Nobody's going to bat 1,000, but it's the practice of getting your mindset right so you're in a place of positivity. Now, research will tell you the positive you sells 37% more and is 31% more productive, you're healthier, and all these other benefits, right? And but that takes you to a place of creativity. So creativity is divergent thinking, solution providing. So we're always in the solution mode here. And something can crop up like the other day, my 34-year-old man with autism. He's got to have his wisdom teeth out. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. How are we going to do it? I'm trying to find, dialing around who takes Medicaid and all this stuff. But I didn't go, oh my God, this and that. Well, how are we ever going to do this? I just picked up the phone, start making phone calls. Just pick it up. So,
I think one of the keys though to that is you somehow switched your mindset to be coachable. And I think
oh, absolutely.
that just opened the door for you in regards to the possibilities and opportunities.
I think you're spot on. I believe, yeah, yeah.
it's funny too. Um, a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening to this show it's scary to grow. Like, can we serve our customer? How big do we want to get? They haven't defined, they're not positive about it, and they haven't defined what they want to do. And if they're positive and define it, then they go grab you and you just drop it right in. And then they just roll, right? I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you may
That's
have
simple.
right now we're staring down. I'm going to be 67 years old. I have no desire to
Just
slow
a
down.
kid.
You don't look a day over
No,
35.
you're just
Thank
a
you very
kid.
much.
Yeah.
And I'm riding from Plymouth to Provincetown on Sunday for riding in memory of a friend of mine who decided last year he didn't want to live anymore. Cycle against suicide. So it's almost 100 miles at 67 years old, and we'll do it.
Hopefully it's
So
downhill the whole way.
nah,
Kidding, I'm
believe it or
kidding.
not,
Got an electric bike. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's true.
there's no cheating in this guy.
Good man.
I'd show you my legs, but that wouldn't,
We know it.
that's my line. I goes, are these the legs of a 67-year-old mom? And plus, I'm not
I mean,
67 yet.
we got to know our limitations. We can't show all that stuff off.
Right. So, um,
So at what point do you go off on your own and start your own consulting? So you're doing this with your friend and making waves, and then
okay, so
where was that pivot?
let's talk about a failure. Let's not. Nobody bats 1,000, right? So
We
I
pivot.
decide.
We don't fail. We
Never
pivot.
fail. Ever fail.
So yeah, I like that pivot. Yeah, R&D, rip off and duplicate. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
good. But yeah, so we pivoted after this one challenge, and because I decided after being successful selling athletic footwear and apparel, I could start a computer software training company. Makes sense, right?
Why
But
wouldn't you?
but through circumstances and all sorts of finance guys and whatnot, I wound up with this business, and it was a franchise that we own. We're independently owned and operated, and it was in logo business. I had been in the logo business. I done it with my apparel, the apparel rep as a rep. We had a line called The Game, and it was all custom. It was all some of it was licensed products, but we were also custom. So we did. So I said, this is right up my alley. And my wife and I jumped in, and she actually really led the charge because I was still repping something else to try to continue the income flow in. And we've had a 29-year run, and it's been great.
Awesome.
So I have a couple questions that are the hardest questions of the whole podcast.
Yay.
The first one is, what is your superpower? And I think you've answered it several times,
Yes.
but maybe not directly.
I think it's just making things happen. Connecting dots is always thing that, we did that a lot in the foundation we have for special needs kids. We had special needs education, oh, wait a second. These people do that. Those people do that. No, yeah, okay, let's put them all together. Now we've got something. So I would call myself. So here's something I want to put a bug in your ear. There's a company on getting started, and I just invested in it, called Hupside, and they're gonna measure your original IQ, which is how creative you are. Basically, now, I'm not speaking for the company. I might be messing this up a little bit, but I wrote a speech on it and in that you have focal, take a score, and you have focal, augmenter, connector, or expander. So focal will be that person that, let's take a music metaphor, plays what's on the page. An augmenter will be a jazz pianist, which he or she sees a chord chart and they go, huh, let me see, I'm going to play it this way this time, I'll play it that way the next, and maybe a third again. And then you have the connector, which in a music metaphor is the producer. So I'm going to have the session musicians, and I've got your chart, and we're going to put all this stuff together, and we're going to come out with a product. Now that could obviously in business that could be a project manager or something of that nature. And then expanders are just like Elon Musk, those types of people, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, take something from nowhere. So what are you going to do with information you get from AI afterwards? That's kind of the thought. That's kind of my interpretation of what it's all about. So in that scenario, I'm a connector.
Gotcha. And I have one last question. What is your end game?
The end game is just to remain happy and productive. I really, we have a great life. We don't owe anybody anything. We could stop tomorrow. Matter of fact, just ran into a buddy of mine whose company's been bought twice, and he's got all. So we've never been able to have share in those fortunes of stock and all that stuff because we've been independent. But we have a wonderful life. The kids are doing great. I just I can't be any happier than that. And
Well, I think the answer is there's no end game for you.
They're never.
no, there's no end game.
They're
You-
never.
Oh, I have no desire to retire.
You're not going to stop. You know too much. I think your growth mindset and ability to help and, like you said, connect people, create those relationships. Why would you stop? It would
You know too much. Why stop?
That's what so this guy who said he was retiring yesterday, I ran into him and I said, so sent him a text after, Joey, always a gentleman, great to see you, yada, yada, yada. Congratulations on the retirement. I said, I could go now, but I could have gone 10 years ago, but I like what I'm doing.
Good.
He goes, I'm coming. Because what I wanted to say to him, I said, I didn't want to say this because, if your decision is to retire and you want to go golf and do whatever, have at it. But I wanted to say to him, you got a lot more to give.
Yep.
Guess what? He's coming back next year after his non-compete. I said,
Can't,
good to hear.
can't resist. Well, is there a plug you can put for somebody could get a hold of you that we can put on this podcast?
Sure. I just positiveactivity.net is the best place to where all our contact information is there, and you get to read all about us. My speaker bio, Lori's is there too. We speak not only in business and business development, but we also speak on caregiving. So that's our next book is going to be how to navigate the special needs world with positive activity.
Fantastic. Well, Neil, I can't thank you enough for being on our show. We'll look forward to running into you again. And again, I'm Glenn Harper,
Julie Smith.
Entrepreneurial Podcast. We'll see you later.